what the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage.
Well,
so I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained.
yeah, let me explain it. If that was to happen, Donald Trump would be your president. I just thought perhaps would mention that as well. James Mennie over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, it never stops with Donald Trump.
Well, you know what? To a certain extent, we have to admit we're accomplices. I've heard that clown's voice more in the past 2 weeks, I think, than I have in the past 2 years, because let's face it, he is, no matter what you want to say about the guy, he's a click magnet. One thing I want to suggest to our listeners, though, if you're going to listen to Donald Trump talk through his butt on a regular basis, I would suggest, for those of you who remain unconvinced, just for fun, go on Google and ask, if you had, say, a knee replacement or a hip replacement or cataract surgery, just ask Google, how much would does a knee replacement or knee surgery cost in the United States? And how much does a hip replacement cost in the United States? And then you'll understand that you're going to need all that extra money you're not being taxed for, because you'll be basically taking a second out on the house just to get your knee working again. But all that to one side, listen, he is the great disruptor. He is the great center of gravity, and things are just beginning to orbit around him. Exhibit A, Doug Ford calls a snap election. Ontarians are going to go to the polls in February on the grounds that Doug Ford says he needs a mandate from Ontarians to deal with Donald Trump. And I got to tell you, he has played it masterfully between the Canada's Not for Sale baseball cap, saying the right thing at the right time. And let's face it, that's about 90% of politics right there. This guy has positioned himself to basically cakewalk to yet another term. They were on the same schedule as Quebec. They were supposed to have their next election was supposed to be in June of 2026. And I got to tell you, Aaron, my mind sometimes works in crazy ways, and I'm wondering whether down the road, not immediately, because you wouldn't be able to do it, but whether indeed François Legault could benefit from the same kind of tactic. Let's face it, the one real political strength that François Legault has is finding villains, finding threats, and then saying, I will protect you against it. And right now, look at who he's up against in Quebec to deal with Donald Trump. Well, the PQ, despite the fact that they're still leading in the polls, but the latest Legault, by the way, which came out today, and it was conducted on behalf of the Bloc Québécois. I still don't know why that happened, but they are only leading by 9 points, and that's not the Grand Canyon. That can be made up for. But look at it this way. If I was campaigning right now for François Legault, I'd say, who's better suited to deal with Donald Trump? Someone who's aware of the realities of the challenges faced by Quebec and Canada's economy, or somebody who wants to create their own magic kingdom, i.e. Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon. The Liberals, meanwhile, in that same poll, are sitting at 15%, even though it was taken now that their leadership campaign has launched, which, in fact, 15, I think, is 2 down from what I usually saw them with Legault, which is at 17.
Right.
Listen, if they played it right, he could, and especially if Donald Trump keeps helping out this way, he could turn those numbers around. And guess what? He could turn around and pull the trigger, and I, honest to God, think he could get away with it.
Wait a second. So you're suggesting François Legault, who's had nothing but bad news up until about a week or two ago when Donald Trump started talking about this, you think he pulls the plug like Doug Ford did in Ontario?
Not as soon. I think he would wait for it, but he'd have to, because that would be a little too obvious. But why not go to the polls in the fall? If the numbers are turning around for him, Aaron, if Donald Trump is doing the same job for him as immigrants have, as Anglophones have, as people who don't look like CAC supporters have in the past, why the hell not? What's he got to lose? We both know his numbers have been tanking for nearly a year and a half. Why not turn around and roll the dice? He's got nothing to lose. He already has a supermajority. He can still do whatever the hell he wants, despite the fact that the polls say, oh, everyone loves the PQ. Yeah, well, let's see. Let's take him out. Never mind taking him out on a date. Let's see if people want to get married to the PQ. And, let's make it real. Let's ask Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon how he would lead Quebec in a Trump world, because Trump's not going anywhere, as far as most people can tell. So how are you going to deal with Donald Trump? And please don't talk to me about identity. In fact, he has complained, apparently, St. Jeff Lamondon, that, gee, I hope this hoo-ha with, Donald Trump doesn't lead to Quebec's other problems being overshadowed. I got a newsflash for you, Mr. PQ leader. It is. Because why? Because everyone, regardless of their political affiliation, is concerned, has skin in this game. This is the economy of Quebec. These are jobs. These are livelihoods. These are people's ability to spend money or save money. It's all on the table with this increasingly erratic nut bar. But unfortunately, the nut bar is the president of the United States, and for the time being, we've got to put up with all this. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting situation if Francois Legault turns himself into the right guy at the right time, saying the right things. And indeed, he has not shied away from comparing these days we're going through right now, Aaron, to the days of the pandemic, when guess what? He could do no wrong. And he was he was Papa Legault. Well, maybe he wants to go back to that.
I was going to ask the question, Jim, given what happened only a day ago, right, with respect to Bill 21, and we know the stern statement that came from the CAD government, maybe he uses that as a springboard as well if he's going to do it.
Absolutely. To a certain extent, the stars are lining up for Francois Legault. You cannot deny that. I also think that he's in a no-lose situation with the Supremes. With all due respect to the High Court, if they rule in favor, it's confirmation that he was on the right track and that the Nation can flex his muscles. And if he is overruled, if they overrule Bill 21, well, guess what? There's another big fat grievance for Francois Legault to go and run with. And let's face it, when there are problems, when people are being made to feel scared, the guy you'll find at the front of all of that is Francois Legault, and he's very, very good at it.
I would ask, by the way, Jim, to your question about Donald Trump and healthcare, whatever else. I took a quick check here on a little ChatGPT trip. Your knee replacement surgery would cost you, on average, depending on what hospital where you were, between $30,000 and $50,000 US. Yeah. And if you were lucky enough to be able to buy health insurance, because that's typically the answer from people, $300 to $800 a month for an individual. This is all American dollars.
There you go.
Or $1,000 to $2,500 a month for family coverage.
Well, there you go. But I'm sure with Trump, we'd all have free housing too, so that wouldn't be an issue.
Well, there you go. All right.
There you go. But this is what we're up against, Aaron, every single day. And the problem is, if it was some guy pushing a shopping cart down St. Catherine Street, you wouldn't pay any attention, even though the content is the same. Yeah. But here we have to get reaction. You have to go talk to an expert and say, this part where Donald Trump tries to take his pants off over his head, is that significant to you? I mean, this is where we are. It's just completely bizarre, buddy.
Sad but true. Okay, let me talk about, I don't know if you happen to hear any of Karina Gould. I had her on the show earlier today. For people who missed it, we'll replay that for you at 5:30. I don't know. What do you make of Chrystia Freeland deciding today, putting down? Obviously, she's realizing she's a little behind now, right? Mark Carney has the more support, I guess it would be fair to say, from Liberal members. Chrystia Freeland wants at least 4 debates, 2 in English and 2 in French. What do you think?
I think she's pulled out the hardball, and I also think, with all due respect to everybody who's saying that Mark Carney he has the support of the establishment. Here's the problem. The establishment will not choose the next leader. The membership will choose the next leader. It depends who gets the most cards signed. It depends who convinces the most people that they are the best candidate. And that doesn't necessarily involve cabinet ministers or party operatives. That involves people that you turn around and convince, or your supporters convince, to become a member of the party and vote for you. And frankly, and I heard you guys talking about this earlier in the show, the fact that Carney's French is good, but it's not super strong. Two debates, that can make or break as well. The other thing is, and don't forget, English Canada will watch the French debate, and if somebody stumbles in a French debate, and it's a national issue, English Canada will pay attention to that, if only to see whether that person is prepared or not. But on top of everything else, her throwing down to Carney, saying, I want, will he, all the candidates must be ready to say they will run in the next federal election. Yeah. And I know I heard it said that he has committed to running in the next federal election. Aaron, let me tell you for the record, I have committed to losing 20 pounds over the next 6 months. I'm going to do my best. But guess what? There ain't no guarantee.
Okay. Well said. Jim, you have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too, buddy.